Hi there, and welcome to another episode of 411 Pop Culture, where real people talk about really everything. I'm your host, Justin Steele, and tonight I'm here with Danielle Almendra. How you doing tonight, Danielle?
Good.
Good. Well, we are going to be discussing Cobra Kai seasons 1 through 3, so there will obviously be spoilers, so just keep that in mind. So what did you think of the show so far?
I mean, I love it.
Yeah, Danielle loves Karate Kid. I love Karate Kid movies too. I grew up with two older brothers. That's all they watched. So now, which of the original movies is your favorite?
Two, but one is a close second.
Yeah. Well, the first Karate Kid is iconic, obviously. You know, you have the crane or whatever they call it. All that, but I also, 2 is my favorite. I think it has a little bit more heart. I love there's a little bit more of a real sense of danger to it,
right,
with Chosen and Kimiko and all that at the end. So I was really excited that throughout the, obviously a big selling part of the series is having this sort of nostalgic, we're feeling all that. And I really love that we're starting to get to see those characters now come back. That was like the big oh, is that going to happen? Is that going to happen? Now, I also was a fan of the next Karate Kid. I know that you never really watched or got into it. I feel like the big theme from Cobra Kai, the series, is that there's more than one side to every story. And I love that, like, the next Karate Kid, we got to see Mr. Miyagi without Daniel. And in this series, we get to see Daniel without Mr. Miyagi, which is clearly, like, hurting him and developing him and his emotional, like, sort of vulnerability. But overall, I've so far really enjoyed it. I am also happy to hear Jackie, my friend Jackie, who's also been on a couple episodes of this show. She's watching Cobra Kai, having never seen the original series. And I thought, I didn't know, I was curious how it would hold up as a series to somebody who, like, never watched it, or watched the original movies, but she loves it. She's, like, obsessed with it. So I'm like, well, that's pretty neat, considering that, like, for me, I mean, I think it's a great show anyway, but I can't really be objective.
Yeah.
So I was curious, how somebody would feel about it.
I think what's great is that if she loves Cobra Kai without the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Just like we love Cobra Kai because we've seen the Karate Kid. We love it that much more. I think if she goes back and actually watches the Karate Kid movies, she's going to have even more of an appreciation for them. Because she knows kind of like the the future.
Yeah. It's like getting a prequel. Like, she'll be watching it like the original series, like how we read, if you read like a V.C. Andrews novel and you get the prequel story, it's always really enjoyable. She's going to get that sort of pleasure out of it.
Yeah, and I think she'll actually enjoy them a lot more. And I think it's great, too, because, from her perspective, she can enjoy that, as somebody younger than us, obviously.
Right.
And this is something that, people our age have kids that are, multiple ages, but teens and that kind of stuff. It's kind of like a family thing. You can sit down, you can watch it. The adults can appreciate it because they love the Karate Kid movies and they get to see Daniel and Gianni, now, where the kids are really going to enjoy it because there's a lot of kid plot to it.
Absolutely, so, the whole teen angst, all that. Yeah,
all of it's there, and you kind of get wrapped up in it too.
Yeah.
But you're seeing it from an adult's perspective. So
well, she had said to me too that she liked that, like, they give you flashbacks.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for her to see like the expanded versions of those flashbacks, because it's like when they do that in a regular show. Say they said there were no Karate Kid movies. The show just came out and they showed you flashbacks to sort of tell you the Johnny versus Daniel story. But like now, like those, it's like that really exists. Those are whole scenes and expanded, and so she's going to get to see the expansion of all that. So I'm super excited for that. Now, we came into it when the Cobra Kai seasons 1 and 2 were already out, correct? Same here. We didn't have I don't have YouTube Premium, so when they sold it to YouTube, we finally got to watch it, and I was hooked. Like, I couldn't stop watching it. So we were lucky that we got to marathon 1 and 2, and we had to wait for 3, but definitely the first day we were like, done, let's watch it.
I turned it on. I was hooked after 5 minutes. I didn't move from my couch for like 9 straight hours, however long it was, 9 straight hours. And he kept coming, like, are you still watching it? I'm like, oh, I cannot stop. Like, it's done. Like, I am watching this whole thing.
Now, which season do you think, like, so for me, I think I enjoyed season 3 the most so far, but which season, do you think one season was better than the other or anything like that?
I really loved the first Cobra Kai.
Season 1?
Yeah. I liked season 1. Again, but the ending of season 2 was what really got me. Like, I was horrified. I felt emotion. I got all those feelings, and it was so cool to, like, be able to be that wrapped up in something, to, like, really feel that. and really want to know what happened. I was so excited that it came out in January. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it. Like, I need to know what happens to Miguel. But I love the first one because it has all the nuancy, corny, cheesy, the songs, you know, all that stuff.
It's
I
so
just
good.
love the first one. It really brings you right back.
Yeah. What I liked, too, that the first one really did start off from Johnny's perspective. I will say, you know, talking about season 2 finale, that was probably my only criticism of season 3 is that I felt that they had this pressure to, like, do that again with this whole... I didn't really buy the whole, like... oh, we're having this huge epic fight again at the end now at the house. It works, it's fine, but I feel like they felt like a pressure to kind of have like how they did, because season 2's finale, you're kind of like, oh, what is going on?
What
the huge
happened?
thing at the school and everything.
Oh, I know, and that was a great fight scene.
It was
too.
great. It was.
And so, but the competition on the first one too, it brings you back to the Karate Kid 1. You know, it's Cobra Kai versus Miyagi-Do, and you're like, and really with that one, it's like, who's gonna win? How are they going to end this right? Because
there's
really
no clear, there's no clear decision. Like, you want Miguel, you want Robbie, you kind of want Eli, you kind of want Samantha. Like, it's like everything, you know.
It's like, I'm like, how are they going to end this that I'm going to be happy? And actually, they did.
They really did succeed with that.
I was like, oh, okay, I didn't want Miguel to win.
Because he was the sort of emotional arc of the, you know, to get it going again. And although Miguel was sort of the emotional arc of the teen side of things, William Zabka was also the emotional, like, we're following his from his point of view. I've always loved that since the No More Kings Sweep the Leg music video, which I absolutely loved. I had such a thrill when I saw that video. Right. I think I had, like, MySpace was still there, so I think I had, like, put it up on one of my, like, videos you could show people. So I always thought that was a really cool concept. So when I heard Cobra Kai was coming out, I'm like, oh, it's going to be like that video. And it was, but even way better, because he is sort of like trashy on the, you know, on the edge of life, but a little bit more realistically so. And I love his, you know, because even though his, like, it's the conflict with Miguel, it's also with Robbie. Now, who would you, if you have to choose with Sam, who do you ultimately want her to end up with?
Miguel.
I think I've come around to that too. Especially because, you know, Robbie in season 3, you know, he's so frustrating. Like, could you get where he's come from and stuff? But, like, because of season 2's ending, it just, it changed everything.
Yeah.
Now, I do love also the sort of between Sam and Tori, that sort of developing arc. What this show does so well is have that sort of everybody's side. You get to see the point of view. Not one story is correct. You know, it reminds me of, like, with Elisabeth Shue coming back or Kimiko coming back, Tamlyn Tomita, who I love whatever Tamlyn Tomita's in. So I was so hopeful. Like, you know, you have the big ones like Hilary Swank, I'm hoping still will come back, but Elisabeth Shue, Chosen, and it was like one present after another when we got the little girl that Daniel saved. Like, I love how they did that and brought it around. But anyway, so you get everybody's point of view. But if you think in the original movies, you know, each movie had to kind of start with Daniel gets a new love interest. We got to start, and you have to keep Daniel as sort of the, like, relatable character. You can't, like, he can't be the one to leave the girl. It's got to be something she did. So I love that when Allie comes back, because it's been such a theme throughout the series, that Daniel, you know, he kind of says at the beginning of Karate Kid 2, she met somebody. She's kind of a jerk. She crashed the car. She doesn't care about anything. But then when you get Allie's side of it, it's ingrained in truth, because you do remember back to Karate Kid 2 how Daniel was kind of acting like a brat. So you're kind of like, yeah, that's probably not the whole story. And then you find out there is. But what did you think when you saw, like, Allie come back and Kimiko come back and Chosen?
It just, well, when we got Kimiko, I was like, oh, you're going to love it, because I kind of watched it before him.
Yeah, she was a few episodes ahead of me, it's true.
And I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to be so excited because he loves her. And then when Chosen watched it, you felt that same, like,
that jolt of energy.
Yes, like, I'm scared, oh God, what's going to happen? And then,
because that is the whole thing about Karate Kid 2, I think. I don't know if we already said this, but, like, the first one's iconic. I feel like the second one has more heart, though. And whereas the first one, it's about this tournament. You know that they're going to kind of be safe, even though, like, the whole bully thing has been happening. Whereas in Karate Kid 2, it really does become like what Miyagi says. It's like, this is for real. This isn't for points. And so when you do see Chosen and Kimiko in that moment, you are like, oh, he could die. Like, you know, it's I don't know. That's why I love the second one better.
What you said to me when they're sitting at the table in Okinawa. When it
was like how, like, okay, I was like, so they're sitting there, and I'm like, oh, so she's kind of sitting there with this guy that's, like, tried to kill her, like, and she's just so, like, he's apologized. I'm like, okay, but in Karate Kid world, I can believe it, but I certainly was like, wait a minute, this guy tried to kill you. He wasn't just, like, an ex-boyfriend, you know, it's not like Allie coming in, right, right, and she had, like, grabbed around his neck and stuff, but I do like that we got to see, now, one of the things I do love about Gianni originally and in this series, in the first movie he is sort of this bully, and you know what makes the second one different is that Chosen is more of this like antagonist with no like redeeming qualities. Gianni, you did get to see at the end of the first movie, he's sort of like, congratulations man, you deserve this, which was really cool. At the beginning of season 2, he sort of has that sort of moment with what's the big villain's name? Martin Kove's character?
John Kreese.
John Kreese, yeah. He has that moment where he's sort of like, hey man, you know, second place out of all these people, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
You know, I'm proud of this. And, you know, then he gets punched and attacked by Kreese. And so you kind of see that, like, even though Gianni was the villain of the first one, he was still a kid. He was still, whereas Chosen was out to kill. He was like a thug, ready to kill, you know. And so I like that we got to see Chosen's playful side in the end.
And now that you kind of brought that up a little bit, because you brought up John Kreese, so now that you're seeing Cobra Kai and you see like how John Kreese is, you get his backstory in season 3, it almost makes you, I mean, you're already kind of relating to Gianni and really starting to appreciate like what he went through and, you know, all that stuff. But like, it really was Kreese, you know?
Yes,
and it almost makes you want to go back and be like, that wasn't Gianni. Like, he wasn't a bully. Like, he was basically brainwashed by this crazy dude, you know?
Absolutely. And he's the main villain of the story, the antagonist, because Gianni, and Gianni was, like, on that road. It shows how easy you can get, because now that we got some of, like, Kreese's background in part 3 and all that, but we really do get to see, part 3, I also would love Robin Lively. I just love Robin Lively. Teen Witch, I would love to see her make an appearance as Jessica, I think her character was. But anyway, Kreese, you now even more so get to see like how he became who he became. And Gianni in seasons 1 and 2, even though you felt for him and Daniel almost did come across as the villain, you kind of get to see how easy it is to get on Kreese's path. And so to see like how Gianni now is like turning away from that and because of Allie's sort of interference, if you will, I love that now we're getting on a path that's sort of like they're going to work together. It's going to be problematic. I can't wait. You know, there's going to be so many funny moments with that because they have such different styles.
He brings the humor.
Yes,
you know, I love that about his character right now. You get to see the sensitive side of Gianni. You get to see the harsh side of Gianni. You get to see the funny side. Like, you get to see this. What we perceive when we watch Karate Kid is this bully that we can't stand.
Yeah.
That now we're like, oh, this is like a human being, and here's why he was the way he was, and, you know, he's like, went from being rich to now he's, you know, everything's kind of flip-flop. And you get that same thing with Daniel, like, you know, he's successful, so you're not really like rooting for Daniel almost.
Correct, because he's the underdog. William Zabka is the underdog now. Yes. And he was, you know, just to take a quick sidetrack, William Zabka, who we love, he really was the quintessential 80s villain. We loved him also in Just One of the Guys, who he basically was playing Johnny Lawrence without karate. It was more about weightlifting and stuff. But so I love that, you know, that carries though, because those are iconic performances and we do remember that. So it does carry all this way that now we're watching it. And it's interesting to see how that person in high school who was sort of the golden boy who didn't do well with his power, it brought him down. We now see how that could work out and how now he's the underdog, whereas Daniel, you know, and I love that they each have their sort of parallels, like Daniel and Miguel, but you also can see a bit of Daniel in Robbie, but you also know that Robbie's linked to William Zabka, and that sort of thing. And there's all these sort of, you know, links and parallels.
Well, the writers just did such a great job.
Well, I mean, I heard that they're big fans of it. They were really big fans, and you can see that. Like, you can very clearly see.
I mean, it's just, I am like, I love this series. I love it. Like, I didn't think I could love it that much, and I did. And since you brought up Robin Lively, Mike Barnes.
I would love to see that too. Well, it feels like they were sort of foreshadowing. I don't know for sure, but at the end of season 3, it seems like John Kreese is calling in somebody who I think was it like Terry Silva or Silver?
Yeah, Terry Silver.
Yeah, so I could see them being like through that, bringing
something through there, but The problem is Terry Silver, I read the actor, I can't think of his name right now, is retired from acting. So I don't think we're going to see him. So I wonder if they can like spin it through somehow to get Mike Barnes to come back.
Because he was a pretty good...
Sean,
well, he's from General Hospital, right? Yeah, I don't know. You would know before I would.
Sean,
come back. But no, it would be good because he was a good villain too. Like he definitely was ruthless, ripping off the bonsai
I know,
tree.
leaving him like down in the...
Yeah, that was pretty harrowing. More than anything Johnny Lawrence did, you know.
Like
he was
Mike
sort
Barnes
of a fusion.
Was, like, scary.
Yeah, he was sort of a fusion between like Chosen and Johnny Lawrence. They like, yeah, because I do love. I mean, I do want to go through. I am going to show Jackie the first 3 movies and Next Karate Kid because, like I said, we got so much in 3rd season, like with Tamlyn and Tomita coming back, Chosen. And obviously Elisabeth Shue, who I love. We've loved since Adventures in the Babysitting Days. But we also got the little girl who she came back that Daniel saved for part 2. Like that was like I was like tearing up like because I wasn't expecting that. Like they really are grabbing everybody. So why not also grab Mike Barnes and all that? But and you know the one I'm still reaching and hoping out for, and I know that she's like on a Netflix series is Hilary Swank. Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for the Next Karate Kid, because she had done like Buffy the Vampire Slayer 1992 version with Christy Swanson, and then did Next Karate Kid, and so like and she's obviously had such a prolific an acclaimed career, but it would be really nice to see her come back because I did like her character and like because she's going to come at it from a different way other than Allie and Kimiko who Kimiko was close. She went through her aunt Yuki with Minister Yagi, but Hilary Swank's character, who I'm blanking on right now, but she had a direct link to Mr. Miyagi. Yeah. So she learned different things from him, just like Mr. Miyagi was learning different things from her, which was what he kind of said to Daniel in the letter. Was like, I've learned so much from Daniel. He's like a grandson to me, or his daughter's like a granddaughter, and so I think it'd be real. There's a lot they can do with it. But yes, because they're fans of the series,
well, I did want to interject.
It really shows through.
I did want to interject a little bit since you brought up Pat Morita. I knew that he had passed away before the series before I watched the series. But I love the tribute they do to him. It makes you feel like he's still living on in his memory, and they're really honoring him.
I'm really glad they do that.
And what he contributed to, the 80s genre and like karate and all this stuff. And they really do honor him. And I love the way the characters respond to memories of him and stuff like that. I think the writers just did an absolutely fantastic job.
Well, and it transcends. They were fans of the series. But like I said, with somebody like Jackie coming who's doesn't know anything about the mythology, can come in and just... you can feel that in a show. You can feel the heart of it, though. When people love what they're doing. And that's also why I love that, like, Kimiko came back and stuff, because it does sort of connect Pat Morita even more to the series, because the second movie, like I said, the first one's iconic, but the second movie just had so much heart, because the risks, the stakes were higher. You're going back to Okinawa in Japan. You're getting that sort of, like... the origin of Pat Morita as Mr. Miyagi, and I love that that's what they kind of swung through, because before that the first 2 seasons, which I loved, of Cobra Kai were so contemporary, so about these kids and what they're going through, and I for not being a teenager anymore, I'm involved with the angst of it. I remember it. It's been a while. We loved shows like Dawson's Creek and stuff. But since then, and I've watched teenage shows, I'm like, I really don't feel that connected. But I'm connected, and I'm curious what's going to happen. Like I said, I get nervous when Tori comes on screen. I know, right? But what they do so well with the series is you do see why Tori's kind of the way she is. It's all about characters placed on top of this action, and that's what makes it succeed so much. Well, another thing, though, with the creators, I am sad to have seen, because one of my favorite characters was Aisha, and I'm sad that they took her out, but I guess they said they didn't really have a place this time, and that does keep it rooted in reality, because they said, they're planning to maybe bring her back, or they've alluded to it. It just didn't fit into this story arc, which is kind of realistic, knowing how her parents were or how she was dealing with stuff. But I loved her character because I felt like she was sort of like Hawk, where she was also God's cross-line, but she always kind of stayed pulled back, whereas Hawk, who was also developing as a sort of villain, I was kind of getting really annoyed, I can't take any more. Okay, perfect. I'm I can't take any more of Hawk being a villain. I don't know, because with Dimitri and stuff, the way he broke his arm, I was like horrified, and it was becoming a point of like, how, like, pull back, kid.
Back.
You're, like, it was more like nothing about the performance, the story. Just my heart was going out for this kid. Like, you're never going to come back from this, buddy. Yeah. And the fact that he realized kind of what he was doing, I'm glad. It was, I felt that sort of emotional catharsis by the end of third season.
I liked what they did with Hawk's story.
Yeah.
You know, he's this underdog. He gets made fun of. He, you know, transforms. You know, he's practices karate. Does a great job. Obviously. Right. When Miguel and Robbie, you know, kind of back off a little bit, Hawk kind of becomes this villain. Yeah. They don't really have a villain character, so they had to have one. And I was really starting to get bummed out, especially when he broke Dimitri's arm. I'm like, come on, dude. But it's Kreese. We have to remember it's Kreese, you know? Yeah. And
that's what happens to somebody who becomes isolated. Yes. Because Miguel wasn't around or Aisha wasn't around to kind of keep pulling back. You had Tori, who was hell-bent on vengeance, and Kreese, who also wants control and power. You have somebody like Eli, or Hawk, if you will, who get lost in that.
For sure, and I'm really glad that they brought him back to the good side, because they brought new villains in and everything like that. But, and I just wanted to say lastly that, you know, like, I really like, you know, John Kreese, you know, he's evil, but, like, when you see him, it just brings you back to feeling like a kid and be like, that dude is scary. Yeah, and he's still scary.
He still is. Even because he's like probably about 80 now. It's like I still am like, wouldn't want to be in a room with him. I'm like, oh gosh, it's so good. You know, that like this was I guess I didn't have a very organized review of seasons 1 through 3 in this episode, but there's so much to talk about, and it's so good. We just basically are coming away loving this show. And it is a show that people can apparently go right into. I would obviously want to come into it watching the original series, because for me, the biggest joys that I get, it's like these little explosions of joy when they kind of go back. Like I said, when I saw the little girl that he had saved, that Daniel had saved. And I love that. I love that the sort of... My favorite thing about the show, though, is when it's William Zabka and Ralph Macchio. Like, they're sort of characters. I love all the other characters. I think Daniel's wife is fantastic. I'm glad that he ended up with her. But, you know, my favorite moments, like in third season when they were looking for Robbie, and they end up in this mechanic's office. They're, like, fighting against the so-called bad guys, but then they kind of, like, turn on each other. And I feel like we're going to get more of that for season 4. Because those are some of the best moments,
and that's what I was kind of alluding to with John Kreese, too. It's like when him and Gianni are fighting. And then him and Ralph, you know, Daniel have, like, a thing. And then Johnny and Daniel kind of, you know, you really like that. You're like, what are they doing? Like, oh, you know, they're supposed to be, like, adults and, like, not doing that stuff. And then you're like, yeah, kick butt.
And and just like how we were saying, we're kind of getting hung up in the teen angst. It is easy to fall back into childish behaviors and all that. And again, I just think this show is so good. It's the first show in a long time that I've been like, yes, okay, something I really want to watch. And like there was like sometimes it'll be a show and I'm like, I love it. Like what The Walking Dead became to me. It used to be I had to watch every season, and now I've kind of let a season or two. I've just been kind of waiting. But this one I definitely was like, I need it. It's because it's everything entertainment. It's not trying to be anything more than what it is, and in doing so, it's able to like convey these very deep issues of bullying, self-acceptance, you know, friendship, interaction, and I think we need more of that. As corny as that sounds, it's just so well worth the watch. So I can't emphasize it enough. It really is,
and writers, please keep writing.
Yeah, they know what they're doing, and it's good. Now, I will say, like most series, I don't like series to go beyond like 5 seasons. I think most series, maybe 6, possibly 7, but like we love Smallville, for instance, and that went on for 10 seasons, but each season you're always worried there's going to be something that's going to happen in life. It's going to get canceled. I don't like to land on cliffhangers, unless, like I can take cliffhangers knowing that there's a very clear end point in mind that we're going to get to. So I am hoping that maybe seasons 4 or 5 will be the last, because I like to have a full experience, like a really long movie.
And I did like the ending of season 3, because it was a semi-cliffhanger. You're not like, but you're like, ooh, like I'm excited to see, but like you're not like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
I felt like an end point.
Yes.
And we knew that we know that there's going to be a season 4. So again, there's like, why not? Like I think it was you're watching Golden Girls again, which is perfect, because it was B. Arthur who said, when making it, she's like, let's end on a high. And you know what? The Golden Girls is going to be one of those shows that's like forever revered, and they knew when to end. They knew when to end it, and that's so important. So I am hopeful for that. It's my only thing I'm sort of worried about, but I love the cheesiness of it. I love all the over the top, like heightened, dramatic essence of it.
Music,
But
even the soundtracks are really great too.
For sure.
It's great. You guys should watch it. If you haven't watched it already, you will sit
to
there,
getting.
beginning to end. If you haven't watched the Karate Kid series, do that either before or after. It doesn't matter. They're all great. So.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining us for another episode of 411 Pop Culture, where real people talk about really everything. Which of the favorite Karate Kid which of the Karate Kid movies is your favorite? Which season of Cobra Kai did you love most? Did you watch it before or after the movies? Thank you, Danielle, for joining me tonight. And again, I'm your host, Justin Steele. We'll see you later.